Ya pon tu huevo, compa. Growing up in traditional Mexican family, that's one of the things that I always heard whenever my parents would want me to study, or I remember trying to do my times tables and trying to memorize them, and that's just all I would always hear all the time is "ya pon tu huevo," and it was torture. I would sit there with my sister at the table, and we try to memorize these things, and my sister's a nerd. She's way smarter than I am, and she would just kind of like breeze through it, and I had a hard time just like sitting there and paying attention, and I would always get the belt. The belt was always just sitting there, and it was just always just there, like las amenazas. And I think that just kind of carried on throughout my life, and I didn't really learn how to study and how to focus until I was, I guess, mature enough, or I guess it does take a certain level of maturity to evaluate yourself and your choices and realize like, hey, like I'm full of shit. You got to call yourself out, and you have to find ways to fix that. To improve the quality or the time that I spend studying is based on the idea of declining performance, and not just declining performance, but like declining attention span. So if you were to go to the library and tell yourself like, oh, I'm going to study for 6 hours, 7 hours, and you're really just focusing for like 20 minutes, and the rest of the time you're kind of just like doing other things, your mind's not really there, you're just kind of like looking at the clock, counting down the time until it's time to go home. So if you're sitting there and you're just trying to force yourself to go through the time, what you'll see is that your ability to pay attention is just going to decline, and it's just going to keep sinking. And if you don't do anything, it's just going to keep dragging out, and then the next time you come to study and you do the same thing, it's just going to get progressively worse, because you're already conditioning yourself into thinking like, this is torture, this is something I hate, this is something I don't want to be doing. In order to address that, what you have to do, or what I recommend that you do, is time yourself and see how long it takes you to start losing focus, and then make a mental note of that or write it down, and then just build intervals of study and rest in between that. And your rest doesn't have to be that long. If you're, say it's 10 minutes that you're able to focus for, take a 3-minute break, and then just keep doing those cycles, and eventually what will happen is your mind's like a muscle, or not a muscle, but like your cognitive ability, like the more you use it, the more you're able to build up upon it. So you're able to, with time, expand your ability to pay attention and to stay on task. So say you get up to, the goal is like maybe 30 minutes of uninterrupted studying time, and that's a pretty good goal, because especially if you're pursuing like a higher level education, your master's degree, or some of your, you want to be nurse practitioners, you want to be PAs, you want to be doctors, you're going to spend a lot of time studying. You're going to spend a lot of time reading things that you kind of just have to get through, that may not be the most interesting thing. It might be really dense material that you can't just kind of scratch the surface of, and you really have to like dive in. And the ability to focus for long periods of time is going to be extremely beneficial for you. And so if you're able to increase your focus time to 30 minutes, which is a pretty good goal, and then you have your 5-minute break, over the course of 6 hours, you can actually get in 5.5 hours of good, solid studying time and 30 minutes of break. And what's happening is, every time you're taking your break, you're resetting your ability to pay attention. So before, when we were just kind of powering through, we saw that like rapid decline. We're fixing that, and we're addressing that by taking the break right before it starts to drop off, and then we can start fresh. Not necessarily fresh, but it just it stays in the same little range. And then once you take your last break and you feel like you can't get back into it, then just stop. You don't want to create or recreate or continue to build those negative feelings towards studying. And another thing that is important to note is where you're studying. Personally, I like to go to Starbucks. Right now it's 3:30 in the morning, and I'm filming this, and I woke up around 2, have a weird sleeping schedule. We meet at Starbucks at 4:30 in the morning when it opens because it's empty and it's quiet. It's nice to be there when nobody's there. Another benefit of that is that by the time we're done, it's usually 8:39. Everybody else around us is barely waking up, so we're not we're sacrificing sleep, and we're trading that for the ability to be productive during the day. Instead of like waking up, say 8:30 or 9, and then you go to study until like 1 or 2, and the morning's gone, half the day's gone. You can't really, depending if maybe your significant other or you have a family and you guys want to like go take a trip, or you guys want to do something on your days off, you're not taken away from that because you slept in. You always have a balance of spending time with your family and doing things that keep you sane, and sacrificing something, and something has to give. And I think that giving up a little bit of sleep is more, I'm willing to give up sleep and sleeping in than give up spending time with my family. So setting, sometimes I do study in my room, or I do try to be productive in here. And one of the things that I started doing is having like a study light. It's kind of like a night light, but it's basically, I bought these like LED strip things from IKEA. It was like $5, and I turn them on with the little blue light. I know sometimes I've filmed videos where there's like blue light in the background, and that's my study light. And when that light turns on, that is like a little visual reminder that work needs to be done. Because a lot of times when we try to do things in our bedroom, or like study on your bed, and you end up falling asleep, or if I'm just in here just reading something without a real purpose, that bed looks comfortable. I just want to lay down. Well, I just want to lay down, watch some YouTube videos, listen to some music, because that's what your room is. Your body's conditioned to that. So you definitely want to have a good space where you can focus and where you can study. But if you don't, then definitely having a little visual reminder is really beneficial for limiting distractions, and that kind of goes along with having a good space, and that means like putting your phone on either silent or vibrate, do not disturb. I know that there's an app out there that I've actually just started looking at, and it's called Forest, and it's basically, you have like a little plant, you set your timer and your plant's growing as the time's going, and it basically blocks your apps. Your screen turns into like a little timer, and you have a picture of your plant, and your plant's growing, and if you click out of that screen, your plant starts to die or like wilt away. I don't know, I thought that seemed pretty cool. Some of you might find that useful, but then again, there's not a lot of people up when I try to do my things and be productive, so maybe that's something else that you guys can try. Let me know.